kind of look at mini cuts as a tool, like a tool that can be used for many uses. So in a sense, it has a lot of utility, and depending on the individual and the context around the individual, if a mini cut is actually appropriate or not appropriate. So as a coach, I'm very selective as far as who I'm going to use this tool for and the situation. And what's interesting is that I had a Skype today, and I actually planned a mini cut for someone. I'm like, oh, how useful, because we're recording a podcast on this tonight. So for this gentleman, basically, we're running a cut, and this is coming off of like 6 or 7 months worth of gaining. And it was like something that I was a little hesitant about programming, just because his history prior to working with him, he was cutting quite often and not, let's say, appropriately. So we worked on, the last 6, 7 months of actually keeping him away from deficits, to actually, have him in an environment where he can actually benefit from actually maybe gaining some muscle. And he was also kind of like Brad is doing, kind of getting people away from being so quantifiable with tracking and all that. So this person was actually tracking to a T. So we kind of got away from the tracking. And the way we set this one up, this cut, that was one thing we talked about. Is that, okay, if we're gonna program this mini cut, we want to program how long we're going to do it, and actually how we're going to do the system, as far as, okay, we're going to go from X weight to X weight, but how are we going to get there? Like, what kind of tool we're going to use to quantify the actual progress? Because there has to be some type of system in place, whether it's, hey, I'm tracking 100% of the time, I'm tracking 80% of the time, or I'm just using intuition that's based off of kind of like your daily habits that's kind of led up to this point. So that was something that we discussed pretty much in depth. And, he really wanted to make this not over the top rigid, but a little more rigid. And the reason we kind of said, okay, let's go ahead and track again, is because in the future, this person's going to contest prep. So in a sense, this is kind of like a preseason game for that contest prep. So we're going to learn some skills as far as how we're going to program this mini cut's going to mimic more so what a contest prep would look like. So again, just a lot of context, but that's kind of what goes through my mind when I think mini cut. It was okay, what's the context around each individual, and does it make sense on paper to do it?